All right, welcome back everyone to Inside the Zen Den.
Ichi ni san.
Sun, episode
Episode 3.
3. We are doing another The Path of Zen episode today, which is our travel series, travel segment where we recount stories from past trips. But I wanted to mention before we get started that you might notice the set is a little bit different. So currently in Japan, it is cherry blossom season.
So today we are pretty in pink.
We are pretty in pink. We are staying in tune with the seasons in Japan currently, and hence the cherry blossoms and the touches of pink. And that's something that we offer here at the Zen Den Studios is our set is completely customizable. So whatever your look or feel is for your brand or business, we will be able to bring it to life. So if that means you bring your own props, or if you say, hey, Liz and Hugh, we have a certain look that we're going for or a color scheme, you let us know and we can basically bring it to life, which I feel is really cool. It's fun to be that creative and do a bit of almost like set design. I almost feel like I'm working on like a movie set, and it's really fun to let that creativity.
Kind of like a blank canvas.
Yeah.
You come in and we paint it the way you want it.
Beautiful. But yeah, so today we're going to talk about our second ever trip to Japan. Hugh, did you want to?
Second ever trip, and then also second ever trip to Japan.
Yes.
However, we were going to do a little bit of a pre-context, almost little psychological analysis before we get stuck into this one, because I don't know, you may yourself be thinking like, oh, Japan again? Like you literally just did Japan. Like why would you go back to the same place twice? And it's not a bad question to have. And I think we were just talking about it before, and for our first episode, we barely did any research at all back into what we did. It was just there, fresh in the mind. It was like we knew it. We had such a strong emotional connection to it. This trip, we really had to kind of dig deep and look at the photos of ourselves in these places, even just to kind of bring the memories back. So I think we kind of fell into the trap of a lot of the times in a relationship, you confuse the feelings of an event with like the feelings that you want to feel in a relationship. So you try and repeat that event over and over again to keep the relationship feeling that way over and over again, when that's not really the way you should work on a relationship. You should figure out why it doesn't feel that way all the time, rather than trying to reproduce events that made you feel that way. And I feel like that's kind of what we did here. We, not that our relationship was bad by any means, but it really took our relationship to the next level when we went on this trip, because we had such a good time and we had such a good time together. And then I think we got back to reality, and everything kind of went back to normal, and we were like, oh, we really want to recreate that feeling. How do we do that? Oh, we'll go back to Japan again. If we go back to Japan again, everything will be sweet again, and we'll have all these magical feelings again. So straight away, just booked another trip back to Japan. And not to besmirch the trip, because it was still an enjoyable trip, but I think it is good to be mindful of the fact that you really, when you're booking trips and things like that, really be mindful of where's the motivation coming from. Are you booking this trip because you're both in love and you're both great partners and you just want this to be like an expression of your relationship and just going on an adventure together? Or are you booking this trip because you're feeling a sense of lack and I'm not getting what I want out of my partner, and this relationship isn't as fulfilling as I want it to be, so what do? Book a trip. So both the same scenarios, you're booking a trip, but like what is the motivation behind it is really going to impact what kind of trip it is. Because as we found for ourselves, even though we may have gotten a sense of enjoyment from the trip, we obviously weren't that present, and it really didn't sink in for us very much, because like I was saying before, I literally had zero memories of this trip. I literally had to look at photos of myself in these places just to bring back like a little bit of a spark of the trip. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, Liz.
Yeah, I think this is a really important point to cover, and it's that, like what Hugh said, look at the motivation behind booking a trip. Is it coming from a sense of lack? And I think I know at this point in our lives, and we're talking about 3 years ago now, we were booking these trips from a sense of, I think we were maybe lacking a little bit of purpose in our lives here on the Gold Coast at that time, and we weren't getting fulfilled enough from what we had going on in our lives. So we then escaped to Japan or wherever we went on future trips at this point in time. And I think it was coming from maybe not the best place. And look, we always have a great time on our trips, and we'll talk about this trip, and there's some really great stories. However, I do think this is a great way to start it because, yes, it sounds great. Oh, they went on another holiday. Oh, back to Japan, amazing. But it's like when we were planning for this episode, as Hugh just mentioned, we were both having a really hard time remembering, and we were having to look back at photos. So I think, it's an important point.
Yeah, and look, it's probably going to be something that we touch on again because in our years together, we have gone on a lot of trips, and there was a period where we did go on many, many different trips. So I do think that's something that I want to continue to talk about too, is not just have this be a highlight reel of like our life is amazing and we do all these amazing things, but also go into that other side of things and kind of be like, look, as much as it was an amazing trip, there was also this, and this going on. And we were kind of running away from this issue, and this issue needed to be addressed. So not just trying to make it all sunshine and rainbows, have it be authentic and address everything that goes on behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it took us a little bit of time to get to a place. And I remember after the trips, sometimes we would come home and we would chat to each other. And I remember feeling almost like, sounds so dramatic, but almost a bit depressed after some of our trips. You get like the post-holiday blues, which I actually don't think you should normalize. I think you should address, why do you feel depressed after a holiday? I would like to say, I can confidently say now, when we come back from a trip, if anything, we're itching to get back to routine.
It's the most bizarre thing. Like we're excited. It's like the last day of the holiday you'd think you'd be depressed as. And we're literally at the airport.
I'm like,
I can't wait for the plane to get here. And we're on the plane. We're going home.
Can't wait to go back to World Gym Burley. Can't wait to go see all our friends and family and everything.
So I think definitely that. And it's not necessarily even like you have to say to yourself like, oh, like the only way I'm going to enjoy holidays is if I have so many million amazing things going on here to come back to. But also just your perspective on things. Like it's not necessarily that your situation has to change, but maybe just that, I know this word gets thrown around a lot, but just a bit more gratitude for the life that you do have here. And I think that's something really important to try and pick up on your trips, is not just focus on how amazing these places are that you go to, but also take a bit of time to be like, well, you know what? Actually, back home, we do this way better, or it's way easier to do this back home, or people are way more like this back home.
Or be grateful for what you have back home.
Yeah, back home as well, to compare not only in a negative way, but also be like, man, you know what? And that's something traveling has taught us as well, because there was a period where we almost thought like, oh, let's move overseas, let's live here. But the more you travel, the more you realize that, yes, living somewhere else does sound appealing, but it's more so for the novelty of it. Like obviously you live somewhere your whole life, you take it for granted. But when you really look at things like where we live here, like Australia, specifically the Gold Coast, it doesn't get any better than this. And the only reason I think why people feel like they need to move away or like things aren't the way they want them to be here is just complacency. And I get it. You live somewhere your whole life, it will start to seem a bit plain, a bit ordinary. I know all the spots, I've been all the places, but yeah, I think sometimes you just need to take a bit of a like zoom out a little bit and have a little bit more perspective and a little bit more gratitude and be like, you know what, like things are pretty amazing here. And it is nice to go traveling and see other places, but it's, in my opinion at least anyway, like it doesn't get much better than where we are here.
Yeah, and I think to summarize this topic, it took us probably 3 years of traveling the world and visiting all these amazing places to come to that realization that no, we don't need to go anywhere to find happiness. We have happiness here on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
It was our perspective that changed, and traveling the world and seeing all these amazing places, it gave us that perspective, but it did take us about 3 years to come to that realization.
Yeah. All these places, like we're traveling, is very inspiring of making you feel a certain way. But at the end of the day, all those feelings are still coming from within you. They may have been inspired by a certain event, a certain place, a certain whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's coming from in here. So you don't need to go to the other side of the world to feel that. It's just that a lot of the times that's an easy way to achieve it. But you can have those feelings anywhere you are if you enjoy your surroundings, and maybe it is a little wake up call for you to realize, like, hey, maybe I do need to change my surroundings. And that doesn't necessarily mean moving somewhere. Just maybe look around your house, or maybe look at your friendship group, or look at the person you're with, whatever it is. What is it that makes me feel like I'm not living the life that I want to be living? I think that's what travel is really great for, is just giving you a bit more perspective and making you examine your life a bit more. Because when you get pulled out of your life and you go somewhere else and then get plonked back in it, sometimes that's what you need to be able to realize, like, yo, this thing I've just been plonked back into isn't really something that makes me as happy as I thought it did.
Yeah, your problems will come with you on holiday. And like we touched on, I believe in episode 1, or it might have been the last episode, but I feel like traveling puts a spotlight on any issues that you have in your life. And sometimes it is a really good way to address some things. So, yeah, I'm really glad we talked about that. I think we'll start chatting about this trip, though, and we have some really fun stories to share.
Despite all that, it was a good trip.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that was it wasn't negative, but I think we just want to be realistic. Like, traveling is amazing, but it's not always sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops. Like, sometimes you've got to look within and look at the mentality and the motivation behind booking a trip.
With anything you do, anything you can do can be amazing. Anything you can do can be horrendous. It depends what the motivating forces behind it are.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to, we are looking at April 2023 now. So if you're following along, you'll realize that that's only a 3-month period between trips. And this is what I mean. We literally got back, and I think maybe the next day or a couple of days later from our first trip, we were booking to go back again. And like lucky us, like we're so lucky that we were able to do that, and we had the financial ability to do that, and the time and the schedule allowance. So we were so happy to be back. We flew into Osaka for this trip, which was awesome.
So is Osaka the only floating airport in the world?
It's either the only, or it was the first floating
so
airport. So
the airport
in the
you come into, it's all like on the ocean, which is really cool.
Very cool. Often you fly into Japan in the evening when we fly on the old Bogan missile, and the Jetstar flight gets you in about 7 o'clock in the evening. We made it into town, into Osaka, and it started absolutely pissing down with rain. Do you remember?
Yes.
And we were navigating the streets of Osaka. Mind you, we'd only been to Osaka once, so it was semi-new to us. And we went to what we thought was our hotel.
Yes, so a little bit of pre-context. There are an astounding number of hotels in the major cities in Japan. I'm talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands, and a lot of them share quite similar names. They're part of the same branch, but and this is a useful tip for you when you're navigating your way around Japan. So they may say like the Hamachi Hotel, but there might be like Hamachi Hotel Sochi District, Hamachi Hotel Chome District, Hamachi Hotel Premium, Hamachi Hotel home base. Like there's like
every possibility,
every variation of what it can be. So really make sure you don't only have the first part, but every single part of it right.
Yeah, Google Maps will be your best friend.
So yeah, it was pouring down rain, and we were absolutely drenched, and we kind of wandered into what we thought was the right hotel, just absolutely dripping water, and then going up to the people and being like, yes, we got our booking here. And another funny thing about Japanese people is that they really don't like to give you bad news. And they really don't like to say like no or tell you that
Very
you're wrong
apologetic
or anything like that. So the man has a look through his system, and he's looking a little bit nervous.
He's looking at his
and then
coworker.
He goes to get his coworker,
for like support.
and they're looking a little bit nervous. They're kind of glancing at us. They're like, they're like kind of.
They didn't know how to tell us, and there was a bit of a language barrier as well.
But then he printed something out. and he printed out like the full name of the hotel where we actually have our thing at, and had like a little bit of like a maps thing on it and stuff.
Yeah,
And
so we were at the wrong hotel.
luckily, it wasn't too far away, but he kind of showed that to us, and he was kind of like, yeah, this one.
He's like, you're not at the right hotel.
Yeah, so we were like, oh, damn, we're like, thank you. But look, they were really nice. They gave us both umbrellas.
Yeah, they also gave us a little towel to dry
Yeah,
off. Like they were so like we weren't even staying at this hotel, but the hospitality and like that they showed us, and they sort of sent us on our way, and we're like, oh, okay, right, we're not at the correct hotel. We'll go about our like evening and try and find it, and we're like navigating through the rain. And I remember like this is a perfect situation or example of like your mindset is everything, because if we were in a bad mindset, and obviously when you first get to Japan or anywhere that you've traveled there's a level of excitement.
Any long flight too, you can get very tired and have a tendency to, I just want to get to my accommodation. I don't care. Like I'm up. I just want to relieve myself.
But I think because we were quite excited, we were just laughing at the fact that it was pissing down with rain. We'd gone to the wrong hotel. Like there's these beautiful photos that I'll insert of us smiling, standing under an umbrella, my hair's sopping wet, and we don't know where we're going, but we were just laughing. And it's like your mindset is everything. And at this time, and for the majority of the trip, we were in a good mindset, whilst maybe the motivation for the trip wasn't the best. We always have such a great time on our trips.
Well, we also took the photo because I think I remember thinking to myself like, oh, we really should document more of this, because we didn't document a whole lot of the first one because I think we were just
overstimulated.
Yeah, overstimulating and just enjoying ourselves. But I think second time around we were like, oh, let's take more photos.
We made more of an effort to take photos.
So we had more memories and stuff.
Yeah.
But we did eventually make it to the hotel. We didn't sleep on the street that night.
No. Yeah, so on the first day, we woke up. It was beautiful weather. So it's springtime. So it's actually this time 3 years ago. It was April. So that's actually weird that we're recording this exactly
Pretty
3
much
years later. That wasn't planned.
So we started our day as we did every day in Japan at that point with a beautiful coffee boss, a Boss coffee. We're Tully's converts now because we do prefer a stronger brew.
I don't know if I can handle another Tully's, to be honest.
But at that point, we were big Coffee Boss fans, and we went off to Osaka Castle, which we did briefly visit on our last trip, but we really wanted to get like a better view of it. So we literally walked around the whole thing. It's surrounded by a massive moat. So we walked
it's
around
so
the
beautiful.
whole moat. We went through like the different gardens and all through the place. And
we saw our very first signs of the cherry blossoms as well. So we got there at the very end of the cherry blossom season. It's notoriously really hard to predict each year when they're going to blossom because it's not always the exact same time. We did start to see some of them kind of dying off, and we'll get to it later in the episode, but fortunately we did end up seeing some like in full bloom towards the end of the trip. But yeah, so we were in Osaka. We ventured out to beautiful Minoh Falls, which is, do you remember how far away it was from Osaka City?
It was north. I remember it was north. And I think
Hugh's Mr. Logistics. So I'm asking him because he would have planned this and I would have been passenger princess.
I think it took roughly about 50 minutes. So hard to say.
Via train.
Yeah, via train. Hard to say how far that is, but it was about a 50-minute train ride. So it was out a little ways. Still Osaka district though, and that was really cool. Like you should definitely do yourself a service, and if you can, at least go on one or two little nature walks outside the major hustle bustle of the city. Not only just for the fact that seeing the nature side of Japan is actually really beautiful and like a really good way to see what the country actually has to offer, but also the people you interact with, the citizens of Japan that you run into in the more kind of rural, smaller areas.
So beautiful.
Are definitely. Oh, not that people in the cities are unfriendly, but normally people in the cities are a bit busy. They got things to do. You talk to the people that are out going for walks and stuff in the more rural areas.
Do you remember so ohayou gozaimasu is good morning in Japanese, and their ohayou Ohio gozaimasus were enthusiastic, to say the least. Do you remember? We would be like, Ohio, or you can like shorten it as well.
So Ohio gozaimasu is what you would say to be respectful. So the gozaimasu is like a sign of respect. So
A bit more formal as well.
if you were just with your friends, Ohio means good morning. Ohio gozaimasu means like I am saying good morning with like a verbal bow almost kind of thing.
Well, I like that.
It's gozaimasu is the verbal bow.
I didn't know that.
Well,
just taught me.
I just said that then. I don't know if that's a real
Oh,
thing or
you
not,
just
but
made that up?
yeah, it's like a verbal bow.
I like that, though.
It's a sign
I
of
think-
respect, so I feel like a verbal
No, I like
a verbal
I like
bow.
where you're going with that. We're just making stuff
Japanese
up.
people, if you think that's absolute dog's balls, then let us know. But
Yeah, we need some validation.
yeah, please. Japanese
No, I think
people,
you're onto something
hit
there.
us up in the comments. Do you think gozaimasu qualifies as a verbal bow? But yeah, they're just so friendly and they're like really cool to see like foreigners and but then you can have the opposite as well. They almost take the Australian approach of like abbreviating things sometimes.
Yes.
So you can be like, Ohio gozaimasu, and they'll just go like, mas, mas.
Yeah, we were laughing because we're like, what are they saying? And then we caught on and we're like, oh, they're just saying the
literally saying
end
the
of that
last part of it.
phrase. Yeah, so we were laughing, but that walk was absolutely beautiful. I would definitely do that again. We want to go back and do it in autumn
Still a
because
goal of ours.
I could see that being so. I think we've looked at some photos of it in autumn and it's absolutely beautiful. We'll insert photos of it when we were there. There's a waterfall at the very end, hence falls in the name. But yeah, would absolutely recommend
And
this.
it's not difficult either. Like if you're somebody who's not terribly fit or you don't really go on many hikes, I'm pretty sure the whole thing is paved. I don't think there's any.
It was all
really-
pretty
I don't
flat
think there's
too.
any. I don't think there's any really off road hard parts.
It was all old people doing it. Although, mind you,
Japanese old people can do some pretty crazy stuff.
was it this trip actually? I've just had a memory.
Of the bamboo forest when we
Yes.
were walking down the most
Oh, I'm so glad I just remembered that.
hectic trail.
Yeah, we're walking down
like this
staircase.
steep, like with stairs with like this far apart.
I
like-
was struggling to go down it to
Yeah.
give you an idea
And
of
there
how
was this
difficult this
grandma.
was.
She must have been in her 90s, like all bent over and everything. And
Walking stick.
She was scaling this thing.
She was going up faster
like it was nothing.
than I was going down.
Yeah.
And she wasn't even panting. It was insane. And I remember really distinctly that moment thinking, wow, Japanese people
Yeah.
are built differently. I think it's
remember-
their mental
I
state.
distinctly remember thinking, wow, I can see why this tiny island nearly defeated the rest of the world in
Yeah.
World War II.
They are a force to be reckoned with, and I think it's their mental state. They just don't put up with any BS. Like they just get on
they
with
just
it,
don't
and I love it.
complain. They just, whatever has to be done, they do it.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, back to this day, we had a huge day. So we went to Minoh Falls really early in the morning, which was great. We had the whole place to ourselves just about, other than a few of the oldies that we were saying good morning to. And then we trekked out to Kobe. Kobe, which is a beautiful port city very close to Osaka.
Yes, I'm sure all of you have heard of Kobe beef.
Kobe beef, it's famous. And we went up it's called the Herb Garden, and you take a gondola up to this beautiful lookout, and there's this Dutch themed garden.
Do you remember why it's built that way?
No, can you please tell me?
So the Dutch and the Japanese had like a very close relationship, I'm pretty sure, after the end of the Second World War. They had a lot of different like exchange programs. So Japanese people going there, Dutch people coming here. So there's actually a number of different Dutch themed places in Japan. Out at in Hokkaido, out Otaru way. There's a number of Dutch kind of built places out there. But yeah, the Dutch and the Japanese had a very close relationship. And in Kobe, they have this massive mountain, and the whole thing is dedicated to like different plants and flowers.
It's so beautiful. We'll insert some photos.
So you catch a gondola up to the top and then you walk your way down. But yeah, it's very Dutch inspired. It's very beautiful.
And you get a great lookout of Kobe City, but you can also see Osaka because they're so close. And we got lucky with the weather that day. It was absolutely stunning. And then we also went into Chinatown in Kobe, and I can remember exactly what I ordered because I'm such a foodie. I got a Kobe beef wonton soup. Now, I don't know if it was actual Kobe beef. It could have been just like regular old beef.
So here's the thing. Japanese people are 99.9% extremely honest people, and you would never get ripped off with scams or anything there. However, they are quite loose with their usage of the word like Kobe and Wagyu and
Or
all
like
that
A
kind of
grade
stuff.
Wagyu.
Yeah,
And
so it's like, I don't know, maybe the beef was like brushed against a Kobe cow at
in
some
the same
point
field as
in
one.
the same factory or whatever it is. But there's definitely is a big discrepancy, and I think especially if you're in Chinatown and you're getting Kobe in a soup, then chances
It
are
could be
it
anything.
might not be the most authentic thing. But
I mean, it tasted really good.
yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah. So that was Kobe. Yeah, it was beautiful there. And then we also, I think it was the following day, we went to Nara for the very first time. Do you want to talk a little bit about Nara?
Yeah, so Nara is the deer-run city of Japan. The deer mafia has complete control of Nara.
They really do.
They've got the place down packed, and if you come there and you don't pay the toll, then you're going to get stomped. No, it's like a beautiful city out east of Osaka. We caught a train we were staying in Kyoto at this point, actually.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes.
we caught
So
a
we've moved on to
train-
Kyoto
We
now.
caught a train from Kyoto to Nara.
Okay.
It was a really cool train, actually. They have like a really like a express train that goes from there to there, and so you get there, and at first it's kind of just seems like a normal city because you actually have to walk a little bit north of the city center to get to the reason why everyone comes to Nara, which is the deer. So as soon as you start to travel a bit north, it's just more and more there's like deer everywhere, like on the roads, on the sidewalks.
Everywhere.
And literally you get to a point where there's more deer than human beings. And
Yeah.
they just literally run the place.
They're very confident.
Yeah, they're very, very confident.
Slightly overconfident.
And like they stand their ground.
They run that city.
I remember going up to a few of them and like you think they're going to get out of the way, but they just look at you.
They kind of staunch
yeah,
you.
100%. They look at you and they're like, "You want to try me, bro?"
So in the last episode, we were getting staunched by monkeys. Now getting staunched by deer.
The animals in Japan are just like the Japanese people. They're like very strong and firm,
Very stoic.
in their convictions. They're just like, whoa.
Yeah. But yeah, Nara was amazing.
And they don't do themselves any services because obviously the Japanese people are trying to make a bit of money, so they're selling biscuits to you as you get in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! If these deers see that you've got these biscuits, you are dead meat.
Yeah, we were kind of laughing because some people shouldn't buy the biscuits.
Yeah. It was always like really hysterical women who would be buying these biscuits.
Yeah.
And then the deer would just surge on them and they would just start screaming and running. And it's almost like it excited the deers even more. So more come over and they're all getting on top of you. And they're not real polite when it comes to getting in. But the cool thing that they do though, they must have been taught this from a young age, but if you can get yourself not swarmed by them and just have one in front of you and you hold the biscuit like that, it will actually kind of put its hoof down and they bow to you.
They bow, yeah.
And then you will like give them a biscuit. But
It's pretty amazing to see.
it's hard to see because most of the time they're literally just trying to just swarm you. And
I think they get as overstimulated as the
Yeah.
people are in that scenario. But yeah, it's so beautiful. And again, another place that we would recommend go early and
Yeah.
don't go on a weekend
Yeah, so
because
we went
it gets
early.
extremely busy.
we went early and we managed to be there for a few hours. Went like on a really amazing
Oh,
hike. Like,
we
it's
had the whole place
amazing
to
for a hike.
ourselves.
It's a beautiful, beautiful set out. Almost like nature reserve, and it's a massive walk you go on, and it's just like amazing. But yeah, towards the end of it, we got to about midday. We'd already been there for a few hours, but yeah, by midday there was so many people.
The buses started to pull up and
Yeah.
the tour groups, and it just, unfortunately, it does change the vibe a little
Yeah.
bit. And again, counting our blessings, we got lucky because this was only 3 months 3 months post the borders opening after COVID. So it was still not the same
relatively.
tourism that it is today. So again, we got super lucky and we got to experience Nara very quiet. I don't know if we'll ever get to experience it like that again. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah, and then what did we do next?
And, to keep things relevant with the news of today, there was actually a man who rang a sacred bell in Nara recently, and he got in a lot of trouble with that. So
Oh, really?
I do remember that bell. Actually, I've got a photo of me sitting in front of it.
I know the one you mean,
The
yeah.
big one. Yeah, he went up and just started, like, walked over the barriers and was just like shoving it backwards and forwards, ringing it and
And
everything.
he got in trouble.
Oh man, you should have seen the Japanese people swarming on him.
So in Japan, they take those sorts of things very seriously. And I think it's a country where you do need to be very respectful. And I would say that from your behavior to even clothing, like, look, you can walk around in whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable in, but just know that if you wear shorts in Japan, which we have learned from experience, you're going to get some looks. And it's not that you're disrespecting them. It's just they're very conservative. They don't really wear shorts, even in summer. It's just part of their culture. So something to keep in mind. And then with behavior, like, you don't litter in Japan. You don't do certain things.
Well, you're not really meant to litter anywhere, but
I know, but like you litter in Australia, and no one really bats an eyelid. But in Japan, it's like big no.
Yeah, just be more mindful of your surroundings. And
just it's a respect thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, if you're having a conversation, just have a regular conversation, not an Australian yelling out over the street.
Oh yeah, so like on this topic, when you're on a train, you're not actually meant to speak very loudly or answer a phone call or play music out loud. It's like very disrespectful to do that. So there's we could almost do a whole episode on like Japan etiquette.
Do's and don'ts.
Do's and don'ts.
And also in the comments, if you do have any questions, we will compile questions from people and do a Q&A episode eventually. So
yeah, because we get a lot of like part of the inspiration for us creating this podcast, specifically this Path of Zen segment, is we get so many questions about, I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks. What do you think I should do? Or what do you do with the train systems?
And I'm a big planner. I love to plan. Like, obviously I like to go with the flow once I'm there, but I like to have a good plan of like the general infrastructure of where I'm going, especially travel tips, all that kind of stuff. So I know for me personally, I would have loved a lot of these tips, especially surrounding just those little things that like they're little anxieties in the back of your mind of like, I wonder if you can do this, or I wonder what they think about this. And then if you can have all those kind of things put to rest, it just makes your trip that much easier.
Yeah, I mean, these days we've got ChatGPT, which is extremely helpful, but it is nice to hear other people recount their stories from travels. Yeah. There's a YouTuber that we have like gotten a lot of inspiration from for our trips, but then also creating content, and that's Chris Broad, Abroad in Japan, and it's his channel. I'll put like a little screenshot. If you're looking for any Japanese content, whether you're gonna live there or travel there, I would highly recommend him. He's probably one of our favorite YouTubers, and that's where we got a lot of ideas of like where to go, and he really promotes like going off the beaten track as well. Don't just do, what do they call it, the golden route, the Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto,
which is exactly what we did.
Which is exactly what we did on this trip. But on future trips, we do venture beyond those cities. Yeah. And I think when we go back, we actually don't currently have a Japan trip in the books, but I think we would like to venture beyond those spots and see some other areas of Japan.
So next up on our itinerary, we went from Kyoto to Tokyo, which is an interesting little play on words there if you think about it. So Tokyo is literally Kyoto but rearranged. So it's the same two kanji. So you have Tokyo is Tokyo and Kyoto is Kyoto. It's the same symbols but reversed.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that Kyoto used to be the capital and then Tokyo became the capital.
Yeah, it doesn't. However, that is a very interesting fact.
Thank you.
I was about to mention that one.
I only just made that assessment then.
Kyoto did used to be, I mean, the capital's changed a few times, but Kyoto was the most recent capital before Tokyo. But they changed it to Tokyo. I think it was to do with, I think one of the warlords in that area was accumulating a little bit too much power, so they wanted to move the capital further away from where he was at.
I love that you know the history, because I couldn't give you like a fact about that. I just know that it used to be the capital.
Capital. Capital then, not now.
And that is it. But yeah, we got to Tokyo where we sort of concluded the trip. But before we went home,
actually first, and the accommodation at Tokyo that we got to.
Where did we stay?
We stayed at for the first time at the Hena Hotel.
Oh,
so it's a hotel that's like run by robots. Robot dinosaurs, in fact.
Yeah.
So you get there and there's like, it's all humorless. So disclaimer, if anything goes wrong, there is a human out the back. I've seen him come out.
Can confirm.
I've seen him come out before when things have gone a bit haywire and fix a few things up. But the whole the theme of it is not meant to be any humans there. There's just robots, and you go up to the robots and you like type a bit of stuff in, and the dinosaur there. It's like, oh, okay, where are you staying today?
Yeah, when
And
you
then
check in, you're speaking to the
speaking
robot.
to the robot, and there's
Yeah.
like these robot dinosaurs that are kind of doing their thing. And the main feature, obviously, we'd already spent a lot of time in Tokyo, so we weren't really there to see Tokyo again. We were there. We were on the hunt for Mount Fuji.
Fuji-san, where is he? There he is.
Fuji-san. We wanted
Our
to,
friend.
We wanted to see the rare Mount Fuji. We had a glimpse from a distance, but we wanted the real deal, the real McCoy. So it is a little bit of a trek to get out there from Tokyo. I think probably in hindsight, and something which we have done on a future trip, is a bus. I think a bus is probably your best friend there.
Bit more direct.
You go from Shinjuku Station out to Lake Kawaguchiko. The bus ride, I think it takes, depending on traffic, normally takes about 3 or 4 hours. So it's a bit of a trek. We actually got the train for our first time, because a limiting belief that I brought with me going into Japan is that, and something that's come from Australia, is that buses bad, train good. So my experiences with buses in Australia is like, yeah, not a huge fan. Generally not that well set up. The routes are pretty far out there. Sometimes the buses don't even turn up. Like, I'm not a big fan of buses in Australia. Sorry, Buses Australia. Trains always seem to work. They always seem to be on time. So whenever it was giving me suggestions for travel options and it had train or bus, I would always pick train. But in Japan, the buses are actually immaculate. They're super comfy. They run on time just as well as the trains do, and they can sometimes be even faster than a train, depending on where you're going to. So don't hesitate to book buses. They're actually really good. But for this trip specifically, we did a train. So hurried onto the train. I think it was like 5 a.m. or something.
So early, yeah.
Because we wanted to spend the day out there, and it takes a while to get out there. So I think we were on the train at about 5 a.m. and we got to the first station, and it was like a 1 minute transfer. So you're running off the train to the next one, and then you dive onto the next train. And they all make it look so easy, but like, yeah, to make these transfers,
It's a sport.
you gotta be on your feet. But it was cool though, because the next train we got onto was a Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah,
train.
there's definitely a photo, I think specifically a photo of Hugh sitting on it, and it's the
Yeah.
cutest thing in the world, because it's all like the little cartoon characters of the Thomas the Tank Engine characters, and
Yeah.
we were like, oh my God, are we on a Thomas the Tank Engine train? Like, what do you mean? And we were surrounded by, again, we always seem to be surrounded by a lot of older people.
Yeah.
In Japan, there's definitely like a big older demographic in
Yeah,
Japan.
plus I think that's just more so the older demographic, they have time to
do
things
hikes
like that.
and
hikes and travel
activities like that.
The younger generation, not to say that the younger generation here is privileged, although we are quite privileged.
Yeah.
The younger generation in Japan is very much more like work. Don't really have any free time to be going out for a stroll around a lake at Mount Fuji kind of thing.
So it was us and the senior citizens making our way out to Fuji-san.
And we were getting a little bit nervous actually, because they all had like some serious hiking gear.
Oh, they
on,
did too.
and like
They had
full on
poles.
backpacks and like the walking poles and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm there in like my 5-year-old sneakers with holes in them, in my board shorts and like a singlet, just like.
We were like, are we really unprepared for this? Like, we didn't know what we were getting
So
ourselves
we
into.
weren't actually planning on climbing Mount Fuji, which maybe some of them were, but like we weren't really sure what to expect either with the hike that we did have in mind. But it was a slow train, but a decorative and entertaining train.
We eventually get to Lake Kawaguchiko after a bit of a trek from Tokyo, but we make it there. It's still pretty early at this point. Like, it's probably only 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And because it was April, it was still nice and cool. And our plan was, so Lake Kawaguchiko, there is one big lake, which is the Kawaguchiko
Big
Lake.
old lake.
But then you've also got, I think there's another lake in this general
So
vicinity.
there's a big lake, and then just to the left of it, there's like another smaller kind of lake. In the total area, I think there's 5 or 6 different ones.
It's a beautiful area.
But the biggest one is the Lake Kawaguchiko one that we went to, and it also kind of is at the base of the mountain, almost like at the base of Mount Fuji.
Yeah, so we get there and we can't see Fuji-san.
No, so even though it's right there, because of the cloud cover and everything, it may as well have been a million miles away because you cannot see a single thing.
And so our objective of the day was to walk around the entirety of Lake Kawaguchiko, which was 17 kilometers long. And literally, it was the most beautiful day. We walked all the way around, fueled only by protein shakes and coffee bosses, mind you.
But protein and coffee,
it will get the job done. You might be a little bit depleted by the end of the day, but we got the job done.
And I tell you what, Japan has many, many different resources for refueling.
Yes, but we walked around. It was the most beautiful day. We just talked and walked. It's all very flat. Like, it's not a strenuous walk. It was just the length of it that was hard.
There's like a number of different like garden spots and rest and relax.
You mentioned the Dutch influence. There was a Dutch garden actually about halfway across the lake, or the direction we went, it ended up being about halfway.
The whole time, like we got like halfway across, and we looked back at where Fuji was meant to be. No Fuji. Got like
I remember checking the map and being like, it is there, isn't it? Like, we're looking.
Because we literally had not seen it. So we were literally just going by.
Not even like a hint of it.
Because every so often I think there's like little signposts that say it's like in that direction.
Yeah.
So you would be looking at it and you'd be looking out there and you're like, I mean, I suppose it's out there.
It was almost a bit ominous. We're like, it's there somewhere, but we don't know where. Anyway, so we have literally walked the entire day. I think it took us about 5 hours to do this walk. Like, it was a long day. We get to the very last, I want to say maybe 2 to 3 kilometers, and we suddenly find these like beautiful cherry blossoms. And it was the first time on this trip that we'd seen the cherry blossoms like properly in full bloom. And I think that was because we were at a higher altitude.
Yeah, so it was cooler there.
It was cooler.
Cherry blossoms kind of go with the temperature. So because it was still cooler at this place because of the altitude, like you said, they were still in bloom.
It was so beautiful.
And then we've just seen these cherry blossoms in bloom for the first time, and then
yeah, it was actually quite magical.
The clouds part, and
Fuji-san popped his head out, and we were like beside ourselves with excitement because, like, keep in mind, we'd walked 15 kilometers by this point. The whole time we're looking, is he there? Is he there?
I was
Where's
of
Fuji?
Getting to the point of accepting that we just weren't going to see it, because we almost went into it with that attitude, because like we were talking about before, that YouTuber we like, Chris Broad, abroad in Japan, he's notorious for making videos of going out there and never seeing it. Going out there so many different times. It happens
to the best of us.
And trying to get a photo of it, and you can just never see it.
So we did see it. We'll insert some photos, and you can probably tell like how happy we were in the photos, because we honestly had like given up hope by this point. We're like, we're not going to see him. We'll have to come back another time. And then he poked his head out, and it was so beautiful. We ended up getting back to the train station. I remember feeling unwell at this point, because as I mentioned, we had literally only had protein shakes and coffee. We hadn't eaten a single thing.
And while it may keep you going, I think by that point it was just adrenaline. I think our blood sugars were about 0.0001.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would probably recommend at least having a banana or something if you were to attempt this.
Literally just sitting on the train, just kind of just like nodding on and off.
We were not in a good way.
Just like, rough.
We got back to Tokyo, and I have a photo of the convenience store feed that we had that night, because we were too tired to go to a restaurant. We're like, we just need to go to our hotel, eat, and go to bed.
As if that's why we went. We love convenience stores. That's why
we try to like justify
we just
our convenience store addiction.
No, we're addicted to those.
We had probably one of the biggest feeds we've had, and that's saying something, because we've had some big convenience store feeds in our time, and it was so good. And it was a nice reward, because we had worked very hard that day. We'd walked a long, long way. I think that was one of the days where we clocked like the highest step counts, one of the days on our trips. And it was awesome. So that was pretty much the trip. How long were we there? Was it a week, that trip, or a bit over a week?
I think it was about a week,
Yeah, I want to say it was that length of time, and it was amazing. Like, as we touched on, obviously the motivation to go so quickly maybe wasn't coming from the best place. However, we always managed to have such a great time on our trips, but I think it started to instill in us that feeling of like, okay, maybe we should be addressing why we're booking these holidays. But I would say it took us a few more trips to come to that realization.
We definitely went on a few more, I think, before we really
we've got a lot more trips to come, and
Yeah.
it's all very positive, but there's a lot of lessons that we've learned on all of these trips, which I'm really excited to cover.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to talk about, you know, the mindset going into these trips, and we'll cover that because there's a few more trips coming up where the mindset was maybe not in the best place.
Before we round out this one, is there any kind of psychological or mental takeaways you want to try and assess from the trip? Anything that
From this particular trip?
the one that we've just talked
Actually,
about.
do you know
anything that came up that?
Yeah, so I actually remember at this point I was still working full time in real estate. I don't know if you remember. And Hugh and I were sort of in discussions at this point about traveling more frequently because we got the bug. We went to Japan for the first time, absolutely loved it. We're booking to go back 3 months later, and we're talking about other trips that we want to book. And it was sort of around this time when I was starting to like reassess whether I even wanted to be working in that industry. I was working in the real estate industry because of COVID. It really killed my business at the time, which I was doing more like wedding videography back then. And that really took a hit during COVID. So I kind of had to reassess my whole career. And I jumped into the real estate industry, which look, it was great, but it was at this time where I was sort of wanting to go back to working for myself and having the independence that working for yourself brings. And Hugh was really good at pushing me into making that happen and making that a possibility and even considering that like it would be an option. So I think when we got back from this trip, I can't remember the exact time frame, but not too much longer after, I actually got made redundant from that job because the agency closed, and it ended up being such a blessing because then for the next 3 years we went hard with the traveling because we no longer had this restriction of me being in a full-time role. And so I do remember this point because the reason I bring this up is because leading up to this trip, I remember the guilt that I felt booking this trip 3 months later and having to tell my boss, hey, I'm going away again, sorry. And like I was quite a pivotal role in the in that office. Like I did have a lot of responsibility. So I felt so guilty. But what I learned from that afterwards was that if anyone that works in a full-time role, whatever it may be, I just want to make mention that like at the end of the day, you are replaceable, and I know it feels good to put a lot of effort into your job and give your job a lot and work really hard, but at the end of the day, you're replaceable. And that was what I learned the hard way with this this part of my life. And when I got made redundant, like they just got rid of me and they didn't care less because they had bigger fish to fry. They were dealing with like selling the business.
And maybe not even necessarily that they didn't care at all, but like at the end of the day, when people are trying to run a business and you are an employee, you are kind of just like another stat.
You're disposable.
Another figure. And if that figure doesn't add up, then that figure needs to go kind of thing.
And I think the reason I'm saying this and the moral of this little story is if you can work for yourself or if you're ambitious enough to go out on your own and do something, whatever that may be, I really encourage you to give it a go because you never know where you might go with that ambition and that drive. And like, look where it's led us now. Like obviously we're 3 years down the track and it's taken a while to get to where we are now. But had I not left that job, had I not gone back into pursuing my business with Hugh's influence and encouragement, we might not have ever become Zen Den Studios.
Or even if you do still enjoy working for a company, because there are a lot of great benefits that come from working for a company. You don't have to take on so much stress and all the rest of it. But just don't hold yourself too accountable to it.
Yeah.
Don't like hold the company up here and your joy down here.
Yes.
So you can put more emphasis on yourself and the things you want to do without necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to quit your job and become a sole trader or whatever else.
No, that's not for everyone.
But it does necessarily mean that like, just be aware that like, just because you're putting your everything in this company doesn't mean that they're putting everything into you. And there needs to come to a certain time where you have to, as much as you want to be a good employee and you want to turn up and do the best you can, and I think that's a really important thing to do, you also need to value yourself and your own time and your own emotions and make sure that you as a person are being looked after as well.
Yeah. So yeah, a little bit off topic, but does that answer your question a little?
Yeah, no.
I just remembered when you asked me, I was like, hang on a minute, I'm actually remembering where I was in this time and place. What about you? Can I ask you the same question?
Mine was more so the negative. Yours was quite inspirational. Mine was more negative.
Okay, tell me yours though. I want to hear.
Mine was like it just really started to bring up a lot of things for myself about how much control was an important part of my life, and how much or the feeling of control was almost robbing me of joy and robbing me of any true freedom in my life. And I think when you're home, you can kind of convince yourself, oh, I've just got this routine because that just makes things more effective, and things run better. And of course I'll have a routine. That's just the way people are. People have their routines. But then when you go on a holiday and it's meant to be like relaxing and enjoy yourself and do whatever you can, I think that's when it can really highlight how much of is that routine something you've chosen with like autonomy and serves you and your joy, or is that routine something that has like overtaken and almost like taken control of your life? Yeah. Because going on these holidays, it came with me. Like I was not able to drop it. I was not able to like every day, as much as we were doing fun activities, I always had that voice in my head of like even when we were doing any of our trips anywhere, it'd be like, I need to make sure I hit this amount of steps or else I'm not going to be able to enjoy my meal tonight. I need to be able to do this or I'm not going to feel good about myself later. Like all of these systems of control that I'd implemented in my life at home, they all came with me. And up until that point, I'd kind of convinced myself, oh, it's just a part of my at-home gym routine and I could drop it whenever I want to. But then I went on the holiday and it all came with me. And as much as I wanted to just like relax and just enjoy myself and do what I wanted to do, it wasn't the case at all. From the moment I woke up in the morning till the moment I went to sleep at night, as much as I was enjoying myself and having a good time, there was also a lot of background noise of like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to make sure you do this today, you need to do this, and this, and make sure you eat enough veg and make sure you have protein shakes at this time and make sure whatever it is that, and it might not even seem like that big a deal, but when you have those things constantly go in your head, it does kind of detract a lot from the experience. So it was, that was my first taste of kind of like, is this control I have, is this really serving me or is this almost blocking me from any true freedom? So in my head up until that point, I was like, having strict control of my life is what gives me freedom. But in reality, I was starting to realize that the opposite. Having such control and being so possessive about all the finer details was actually robbing me of having any true sense of like freedom in the truest sense of the word.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I can remember having a lot of anxiety on some of these earlier trips that we did together because I knew that you had this issue. Maybe I wasn't conscious of it, but things would come up. For instance, like we would never eat out at restaurants, even overseas, because Hugh's like, no, in my mind, I've worked out that I'll be eating here tonight. Like I'll be getting this, and this from the convenience store and I'll eat it with my vet. Yeah. Like there's such a level of control.
Like it has to be here, it has to be at this time. I have to have it with this. It has to be done this way.
Yeah, if I tried to throw in like, we should go to this restaurant, he'd be like, nah.
There's no way. And
whereas on our recent trip, you were so much better with this.
I even remember like I was like, unless it was like an hour-long train ride, I would be like, we're walking it. Like we're walking it. Like
you had no chill.
There was so many times where we could have like saved time and like gotten to see more and do more if we just got on the train. But that part of my brain of like, no, if we walk it, then we'll get 10,000.
Then I earn that meal later.
Then we'll get 10,000 more steps and I won't feel so guilty about the food I eat later kind of thing. Just like so many of my decisions, rather than being fueled by enjoying the trip and having a good time, they were fueled by guilt. They were fueled by, all right, I'm going to go to this place, but I'm going to this place because I know it's a really far, far away and I'm going to have to do heaps of steps to get there so that when I eat food later today, I'm not going to feel so guilty about myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's, I think even at that time, I was still trying to kind of like, I wasn't ready to come to terms with it. So I was still even at that point kind of denying it a little bit. But when I look back on that with hindsight, that was definitely when I was first starting to notice like, yeah, I don't let that stuff drop. That stuff is still there with me and it's not empowering me. Like I had convinced myself that those habits were empowering, but those habits were like so draining and just so restricting.
It made the trips, like we always managed to enjoy ourselves, but there was definitely times where like you must have found it exhausting to be that way. I'm glad you brought this up because I can see like a distinct difference now in more recent trips that you have let go of that control a lot and it must feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience because it's just getting over that mental roadblock of I don't know, it's just like a survival mechanism, I suppose. You feel like if I have complete control over all variables, then I am secure and I'm safe and I can enjoy myself. When in reality, your quest to control everything is the very thing that's bringing you so much stress and so much anxiety and so much dissatisfaction and everything else that comes along with it. Because at the end of the day, you can't predict what's going to happen. And the part of the joy of life is experiencing the moment as it unfolds itself to you and having that spontaneity and having that ability to just wake up and walk out into the city and be like, what's going to happen today? And enjoying every moment of it. But when you put all these constraints and restrictions and expectations on it, that's the very thing that you think is going to make you happy and safe and secure is the very thing that's bringing you the exact opposite.
I would encourage anyone listening to visit. We'll put a link in the show notes, but Hugh appeared on our friend Dean's podcast. He's actually one of our Zen Den family as well, and you go into a lot more detail on this topic. And you're
one to the power of three.
One to the power of three, and Hugh talks about this very topic and his journey with overcoming that need to control everything. And I would really it's worth listening to because you can sort of see where it started and what things in Hugh's past have influenced this behavior. We'll plug it below. Would really encourage listening to it. It's very inspiring. But yeah, I'm really glad you touched on that. And I think this topic will come up again in future episodes because it was a reoccurring behavior and
something you'll learn about me is I love analogies.
He's the analogy king.
I'm big on analogies, and I heard a great one recently, and it was you should treat your goals and just like the way you want things to be in life almost like it's a bird in your hand. If you squeeze it too tightly, you kill it and you destroy it, and it's just not there anymore, and there's no life left in it. But if you are too loose with your hand, then it flies away and it's not there anymore. So it's like a fine balance between having enough structure in your life so that you are moving towards the things you want, but not gripping at them so tightly that you strangle all the life and magic out of it.
I like that. It's really beautiful. You always never fail to impress with the analogies. I think that's all we want to cover with this episode. So a bit of a different tone to our first two, but I actually like that.
Well, it's
realistic.
It came up just before, like we were just about to start filming, and
we're like, wait, what are we talking about in this episode?
I just had a feeling, and I was just like, rather than like, let's just be honest, like we don't remember this trip that well, and how about we go into a little bit of detail about maybe why that is.
Yeah, I'm really glad we touched on those things. But yeah, thank you for joining us again. Also, apologies if we're a bit raspy. We're both actually a bit
been
sick
for the last few days.
So if the energy is a bit lower, that's also why. I think we've done well though. I'm caffeinated, so I'm feeling okay now. But Hugh's just been for a workout and not feeling 100%. So bear with us. But thank you so much for joining us, and we're really looking forward to continuing. Thank you also to the feedback and support we've gotten from just the first two episodes.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, it means the absolute world to us. Like, because we're putting this out, but we don't expect people to listen to it. But to hear that not only people have listened to it, but it's resonated with them is
I like for us, it's almost like we're chronologicalizing, making chronicles of our lives.
Sure.
So we're making
We'll go with that.
almost making like a chronological series of our trips and lives, and almost for us to look back on, and so that we can reflect on it, and that's amazing for us. And then if we can use that to help anyone else in any way, whether it be a reflection of psychology, wisdom we have, or
planning a trip to
Japan, or any of the other places we go, or it just makes you laugh, whatever, we're stoked about that too. But yeah, the next one will actually be a trip to a different place. So there'll probably be a few more interesting things to talk about.
Yeah.
But I hope that you got something out of this episode too, though.
But yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.